Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, today we're aiming to cut through some of the noise around weight loss and medication.
Hmm.
We want to unpack something, well, potentially quite profound. We're looking at weight management through the lens of Dan Hollis, who sees things like semaglutide, well, not just as a fix.
Right. Not just a simple solution. He sees it more as a catalyst, doesn't he? For like a much deeper personal transformation.
Exactly. So, our mission here in this deep dive.
Yeah, our mission is really to pull out the key insights from the sources you shared. We want to help you, the listener, understand the emotional stuff, the identity shifts that often get missed when we talk about weight management tools like these.
We're trying to get at what really happens, when the cravings go quiet and the real questions begin.
That's the core of it.
So let's start with hunger. Because,
Yeah.
we mostly think of it as purely physical, right? Stomach growling, low blood sugar.
Totally jewel signals.
But Dan Hollis just flips that completely. He has this really powerful insight. He says, emotional hunger sounds like a craving, but it's actually a question, a need asking to be seen.
And that shift is fascinating, isn't it? He's saying that what feels like a desperate need for, I don't know, chocolate might actually be loneliness asking for connection.
Or boredom looking for something engaging.
Exactly. Or anxiety needing comfort. Even joy wanting celebration sometimes. Our whole relationship with food gets tangled up in these complex feelings.
So the craving isn't the problem itself.
No, it's more like an invitation to look inside and ask, okay, what's really going on here? What do I actually need emotionally? It changes the whole game.
Okay, so then where does something like semaglutide fit in? Ozempic, Wegovy,
Yeah.
the GLP ones.
Right. So these medications work by mimicking a gut hormone. They slow digestion, tell your brain you're full. Basically, they turn down the volume on that constant food noise.
And Dan's framing of this is crucial. He says it's not a fix.
No, he calls it a window or a biological pause.
A pause. I like that. A pause that lets you finally ask, what am I actually hungry for? Beyond the physical, beyond the noise.
And think about it. If food has been your emotional scaffolding,
Your comfort, your control.
yeah, all of that, then when that suddenly goes quiet because of the medication, you can feel really exposed.
That makes sense. Vulnerable, maybe?
Absolutely. But that discomfort, that feeling of being exposed, that's not failure. He says that's precisely where the real change begins. It's the starting point.
Dan actually shared his own experience with this, didn't he? That initial feeling.
He did. He talked about the sheer surprise of the quiet. He said, I didn't realize how loud food was in my life until the cravings were gone.
Wow.
And he found that silence unsettling and strangely beautiful.
Unsettling and beautiful. That captures it perfectly. It's not just about losing appetite. It's about gaining this internal space.
Which brings us to the big question, what do you do with that space, that quiet?
Right. And that's where Dan Hollis's approach seems really different. He makes this contrast, saying most programs just hand you a syringe and wish you luck.
Whereas he aims to hand you a map.
A map. That's a powerful metaphor. Because without that map, without structure and support, what happens?
Well, Dan argues that semaglutide on its own can actually amplify your confusion just as fast as it lowers your appetite.
Amplify confusion. That's arresting. So the medication isn't enough. You need a guide for this new territory it opens up.
Precisely. And this gets to a really core reason why people might relapse, according to Dan.
Yeah.
It's critical at this point. People don't relapse because the drug stops working.
Okay. So why do they?
They relapse because no one helped them rebuild the emotional framework that food used to support.
Ah, okay. So the underlying emotional structure is still shaky.
Exactly. He talks about the anxiety people feel when cravings vanish because food was their comfort, maybe their control, maybe even part of their identity. Losing that. He says it's like losing a friend.
Wow, framing food as a friend really highlights the psychological weight, doesn't it? And it's not just while you're on the medication. What about coming off it? That's a big worry for people.
A huge worry. And Dan stresses you absolutely need a clear strategy for stopping an off-ramp, he calls it.
An off-ramp. Okay.
Because without one, he warns, the biology takes over. Appetite returns, old triggers get louder, and the rebound weight shows up before you realize you're slipping.
That's the part so many approaches just seem to ignore. The what next.
So given all this, the emotional hunger, the temporary pause from the medication, how does Dan actually help people build something sustainable?
Right. What's the framework?
Well, there are a few key pillars. First, this idea of pattern mastery over perfection.
Okay, pattern mastery. What does that mean in practice?
It means focusing on flexibility, not rigid rules and fear. He
Mhm.
gives this example. If your system can't handle a slice of cake without spiraling, then we haven't taught it flexibility. We've taught it fear.
That really challenges the all or nothing dieting mentality. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it moves beyond that.
Yeah.
Then there's his principle. Pacing is protection.
Pacing is protection. Okay, so resisting the urge to lose weight super fast.
Exactly. We all want quick results, but Dan points out why that often backfires. He says, because the body adapts. Fast weight loss is seductive, but it often triggers metabolic slowdowns.
Right, the dreaded plateau.
hmm So he says, that's why we pace it. You're not here to win the race. You're here to finish it. He even reframes plateaus,
How so?
not as failure, but as the body just catching up. Your metabolism is basically asking for grace.
Asking for grace, that's a much kinder way to look at it. It really emphasizes sustainability.
It does. But maybe the absolute core of his work, the most significant piece, is this. Keeping weight off isn't ultimately about diet or willpower.
What is it about then?
It requires becoming the kind of person who doesn't need weight loss as a project anymore.
Whoa, becoming a different kind of person.
Yes, he calls it identity work, not just dieting. It's profound. He says you don't hold on to weight loss with discipline. You hold on to it with alignment,
Alignment. Alignment with what?
with that new identity.
Hmm.
It means, as he puts it, replacing the story, not just the snack.
Replacing the story, not just the snack. That's huge. It's about digging into those deep-seated beliefs we have about ourselves about food,
Exactly. And consciously rewriting them, piece by piece.
which must completely change how you view setbacks then. Because setbacks happen.
Oh, absolutely. And most people see them as total failure, right?
Okay?
Game over.
Yeah, I blew it, might as well give up.
But Dan challenges that completely. He argues most people don't relapse into hunger. They relapse into confusion.
Anti-confusion. Interesting.
He says setbacks are predictable, not shameful. They're just signals you're human.
Okay.
He uses this analogy of weight loss as a spiral staircase.
A spiral staircase.
Yeah, even if it feels like you're going in circles sometimes, you're still climbing. A setback doesn't send you back to the ground floor.
I like that visual. So it's not linear progress.
Not at all.
No, no.
And when cravings do come back,
Yeah.
he teaches that it's not weakness, it's memory. A neural path lit up, asking if it still mattered. I could answer differently now.
So the craving is like an old habit popping up, asking still relevant.
Exactly. It's not a command, it's a question. And because you've been doing the work, building awareness, you have a choice in how you respond now.
Which means the focus shifts. It's not about avoiding the craving, but understanding it.
It means the story needs updating. It prompts you to ask, what am I feeling? What do I really need? Who do I want to become in this moment?
And that reframes failure, too.
Totally. He says failure is only failure if you don't learn anything.
These ideas really tackle some common criticisms or fears head on, like the whole cheating argument against semaglutide.
Oh yeah, that comes up a lot. And Dan's response is pretty direct. If your body's biochemistry is rigged against you, using science to unrig it isn't cheating, it's adapting. He follows that up with, the real cheat is pretending willpower was enough.
That's a powerful counterpoint. It shifts it from a moral issue to a biological and, well, adaptive one.
And what about that feeling of losing control? People worry about that.
Right.
His take is interesting. He says, you didn't lose control. You lost connection
Lost connection.
to your hunger cues, to your purpose, to yourself. That's what we help you rebuild. It's about reconnecting internally.
And the fear of regaining weight the minute you stop the medication.
It's a valid fear, of course. But he's clear. Not everyone regains weight. The key phrase is if they build new identities while losing it.
So it all comes back to that deeper identity work. It's not just about the medication, period.
Exactly. The medication creates the window, but the work happens within that space. And his own story really fuels this,
Personal motivation.
Yeah, he's very open about it. He says, because I lived it. I was the guy who couldn't lose weight, who felt broken, who was ashamed to ask for help. I built this so nobody has to go through that alone again.
Right.
It gives his whole approach this real authenticity.
You can feel that. And it shapes how he defines success, too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He says success is measured not by the number on the scale, but by how many coping mechanisms we've replaced with real tools.
Real tools instead of coping mechanisms.
Yeah. And then he adds, weight loss is a side effect of clarity.
A side effect of clarity. That's quite a statement. It puts the focus entirely on the internal shift.
It really does. He even shared, the first moment he really felt hope wasn't when the scale moved dramatically.
When was it?
He said it was when I went to bed and didn't feel like I had to start over the next day.
Ah, that feeling of being off the hamster wheel, that sense of peace, of sustainable progress.
Exactly, that inner shift. That's the real transformation he's aiming for.
Mm. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. To recap this deep dive, semaglutide, through Dan Hollis's perspective, isn't the magic bullet.
No, it's more like this profound pause or window, a chance not just for weight loss, but for some really deep self-discovery, rebuilding things.
Moving beyond just thinking about hunger and discipline in the old ways. So if you're listening and you're using semaglutide, or maybe just thinking about it, the invitation here is to really embrace that mindset.
Yeah, use that quiet space the medication might offer. Ask yourself those deeper questions. What am I truly hungry for underneath it all?
What parts of me need support now that maybe food isn't filling those gaps anymore?
And remember Dan Hollis's core principles for healing that emotional hunger.
Yeah,
Start with empathy, not judgment.
that's crucial.
Then awareness, not rules. And finally, curiosity, not punishment.
Empathy, awareness, curiosity, not judgment, rules, punishment. Got it. Those feel like guides for real lasting change.
Yeah, definitely.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If weight loss, lasting weight loss, is less about sheer discipline and more about aligning with a new identity, maybe consider what old story, what old project related to food or your body are you maybe ready to let go of this week, especially if the noise is quieter now?
What truth about yourself can you hear in that quiet?
A powerful question.
Because ultimately, as Dan suggests, when the cravings stop, the truth begins.